I wanted to thank everyone for coming and celebrating Michael Fleming's life with us. Michael Senna. Michael Senna, Mike's number one son, and I, we just really want to appreciate and thank you all for donating to the GoFundMe, which enables us to really send Mike off in style. So thank you. Thank you. As some of you know, Mike had been planning on writing his life story, and he unfortunately didn't get too far. I came across a rough outline with some really interesting story titles. They were missing the needed details. So I'm hoping that you all might be able to help me. There was one, it was titled Acid Gig with Alma, and there was a small note that said, bottle rockets in a ditch, solo gig after, and I got into trouble. So if anybody has any information on this, I'd love to know. There's a story from his time in the circus where it's titled Smoking with the Clowns and Drinking with the Chimpanzees. So I'm really hoping someone can help me out with this one because I'd love to hear the story. So we really want to honor Mike by finishing and adding to what he started. So my email is listed over here on the side here at our little altar. If you all have any stories, any good memories, please send them to me. Give me a time frame so I can put them in chronological order, and I can honor Mike and finish his story for him. So, thank you. Okay, let's see if I can get through this. Okay. Mike lived an amazing life. He played and toured with rock stars like Bo Diddley, ZZ Top. He ran away with the circus. He starred in video games. He worked in movies. He produced award-winning music programs. And he was adored by friends who he considered family. Mike loved life, and he was grateful for what he had. He lived for drumming. In 1989, he wrote in his journal, "Drumming, the creation of rhythm, textures, energy, and life. It's where my heart lives. Thank you for this gift, God. I'll try to do right by you on this one." He goes on to say, "During a conversation tonight, I realized my life has been a myriad of amazing experiences mixed with adventure and exploratory rebellion. Thank God for the 60s. I broke from the accordion and Catholics into rock and roll." The music at moments is my sanctuary. As 1 mile after another unfolded before me again, I was filled with such a sense of pride, thankfulness, and amazement. I've had a truly amazing life so far. Mike came into my life when I was 4 years old. The first day I met him, I stuck my tongue out at him. Luckily, he didn't hold it against me. I grew up going to gigs, watching him play the drums in Alma, Cadillac Bob and the Rhinestones. He would do his drum solos, the crowd would go wild, and I felt so proud. When Mike moved in with us, his rock and roll schedule of up all night, sleep all day took some getting used to. I'd try to wake him up around 8 a.m. and he'd say, 40 more winks, kid, before he'd roll over. I remember playing with Mort, Mike's beloved dog, who he claimed spoke. Not only that, Mort the talking dog was refined and he spoke with an English accent. Mike loved Mort so much he even wrote a song about him. My favorite line is, "Mort told me about the heavens and he told me about the stars. I told him about the dog pound, and I told him about the cars." Mort recorded our answering machine, which played throughout the house when a call was missed. Being only 5 years old, I fully believed Mike when he told me it was his talking dog. I was offended that Mort never spoke to me. Furthermore, I wondered why our other dog was so untalented. Mike was the only adult I knew who was always in a good mood, always smiling. The only adult I knew who loved Sesame Street and Looney Tunes. He'd watch those shows with or without me. And he did a mean Foghorn Leghorn impression. He would play baseball with the neighborhood kids. He'd take us on bicycle adventures down the ditches in the North Valley when we otherwise wouldn't have been able to leave the block. Mike was a big kid and a parent all in one. He loved to have fun, to teach me things, and to encourage me. I believe the profound impact of losing his father to a motorcycle accident when he was only 6 years old gave him unique insight. His loss and yearning enabled him to identify and embody the characteristics and qualities that make a good father. The tragedy allowed him to truly understand the importance of growing up with a father figure. In his journal, Mike lists 6 men, including Bo Diddley, who he considered to be father figures, men who helped to shape him. Bo Diddley was a huge influence. I grew up hearing about him, but had not realized just how much Mike truly loved him. Within his journal, he credits Bo for pushing him to believe in himself and to go for it, to make drumming a full-time career. Mike wrote the following: In 1971, Bo taught me perseverance, patience to keep going, confidence in himself to not quit when things got slow or bad. In 1985, he wrote, "Waiting for the arrival of my dear friend Bo Diddley, for whom I will rock my timbales." It's been 6 years since I've had the chance to see him. Seems appropriate timing on the part of the cosmos. 30 years today, March 27th, 1955, my father, Francis Tom Fleming, was taken by God on his birthday from this earthly plane. I'm honored to be picking up the man who has probably become his closest substitute in my life. Mike would pick me up from elementary school every Wednesday in his white van that he named Old Pearl. He'd be barefoot because that's how he liked to drive, wearing his Hawaiian shirt with his long hair. He loved to tell the story and remind me of the time when I was about 6 years old and I got in the van. I completely cracked him up by asking, "Mike, are you a hippie?" He'd laugh all over again each time I retold the story. On Wednesdays, we'd go to Nunzio's off 4th Street where we'd spend the afternoon talking. I was a little kid, but he'd have these major philosophical talks with me, pondering the meaning of life, asking my opinion. He explained reincarnation, a concept that totally freaked me out. We discussed life lessons from the Dalai Lama. Mike opened my eyes to different philosophies, to spirituality, the importance of maintaining a positive attitude and perspective, and of having good karma. I'm so fortunate my path crossed his and that I had an amazing father figure who greatly influenced my values and who I am. Up until his death, I went to him when I needed advice. He provided me with guidance and was truly my biggest cheerleader. Mike moved out of our house when I was about 12, selflessly putting his life on hold in order to take care of his sick mom back at Morningside. When he and my mom broke up, Mike reassured me he'd always be a part of my life, and he kept his promise, never letting too much time pass without checking in. Somewhere along the way, we started this thing where as we were hanging up the phone or saying goodbye in person, he would say, "Auda, you're the greatest." And I would say, "No, Mike, you're the greatest." And I hope he knows I truly meant it. I miss his words of advice. Mike loved to talk. You better carve out an hour if you're answering his phone call. He also listened, which meant that he gave the best advice. He understood what is truly important in life, and many times told me, "Don't sweat the small stuff, kid." In his journal, he wrote, "When it is time to go, plan to go nicely and calmly. Give thanks for what you had, did, lived, and loved, for saying thank you connects you to angels and God. Read the book Tuesday with Maury. Remember to go Buddhist and read Journey of Souls and the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. Believe and trust everything happens for a reason." Mike put asterisks next to the following famous quotes. "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Marcus Aurelius. "A great man is he who has not lost the heart of a child." Mencius. "The most wasted of days is that in which one has not laughed." Sebastian Chamford. Mike wholeheartedly believed in angels and the ability of loved ones to return to communicate or to help in our time of need. I came across a story in his journal titled Visitation from Angels, where he talks about his fabulous one-legged Aunt Sissy, who passed but helped him win just enough money at the casino to get home from her funeral in Las Vegas. Another Visitation from Angels story surrounds a lamp that first belonged to his grandma, then his mom, which he then inherited in 2007 after her passing. Mike notes that the lamp remained on at all times, but after he completed the 49 days of Buddhist prayer following his mother's death, the lamp suddenly went out. He replaces the bulb and nothing. He puts the original back in and suddenly it works, but then the next day it refuses to light. He rules out an electrical short. He took the lamp to the shop where no problem is found. It's working there. When he gets it home, again, nothing. Mike's sitting there looking at his family picture. He's thinking about his grandma and his mom when suddenly the lamp turns on and then quickly turns off. He thinks to himself, "They're messing with me." So he says out loud, "If it's you, light the lamp." Mike wrote that through tears and laughter, he watched the lamp come back on. And he notes that the light stayed. With the original bulb, the lamp stayed on for another 4 years. Throughout his journal writings, Mike describes how he followed the practices and prayers of the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying after his mom passed, so I decided to do the same for him. I worried that I was late in the process, that perhaps I'd missed a critical window immediately following his death. Finding out Mike's body had laid undiscovered for a few days after his passing devastated me. It was my worst fear. I hurriedly searched the book, looking for the prayers meant to help him reach enlightenment, hoping somehow the process would help me. I came across a section discussing the requirement of leaving the deceased completely untouched, undisturbed for 3 days in order to allow sufficient time for the consciousness to fully separate and rise. My perspective suddenly changed. I realized Mike needed this time alone. The events surrounding his death unfolded the way they were supposed to, according to his beliefs. Things happened the way he had wanted. I played back the messages left on his answering machine from the week he died before anyone knew. He had over 25 messages from friends just checking in to say hi. I've spoken to many over the last few weeks and am amazed, but not surprised, by the number of lifelong friends he has and the amount of love everyone feels towards Mike. I found notes throughout his journal, marking the events in your lives, your marriages, the births of your children, your operations, your accomplishments. He saved newspaper articles about his friends. I see he was your cheerleader as well. My heartfelt thank you for being his family and for loving him as much as he loved you. I'll end with a beautiful quote from Mike's lifelong friend, Tony Matusi. Dr. Flamingo, Flash Fleming, and a few more aliases has left the stage for the last time. Rest in peace, my friend. You lived life on your terms, and it looks like Bo Diddley just got his favorite drummer back. Mike, you are the greatest.